Hello students, so today we'll be studying nouns, right? As you know, it's the first part of the parts of speech. It's called nouns, right? So let's start with it. Let's get started. And today we'll be studying nouns. So to begin with, what are nouns? So what are going to be our learning objectives during this chapter is that we are going to understand the definition of a noun, right? And we'll also learn how to identify different types of noun, and we will, most importantly, we'll learn to use nouns in sentences correctly, right? So these are our objectives. Let's get started. As you can see down here, everything from a tree to a Santa Claus to a park, an Indian, girl, horse, chair, milk, all of them, they are nouns. How, why, we'll get to know. Let's continue. And yeah, so we'll get to know in the coming chapter. So what is a noun? A basic idea. The very first thing that comes to your mind when you are reading anything, the first thing that comes to your mind is what exactly is it? So if you go by the definition, right, a noun is a word that names a person, place, thing, or idea, right? Or if you have to put in simpler words, you can say that naming words are called nouns. Any words that denote the name of a person, they are known as nouns, right? Great. Next, so if you can see here, this is a person, right? It's a noun. This is a place, again, it's a noun. This is a thing, a noun, and an animal, also a noun. In fact, every element that you can see in this picture, they are all nouns. If you're going to take some example of a person, a boy, a teacher, or a sister, they are all nouns. A place, park, school, city, village, all of them, they are nouns. Thing, a kite, a book, a toy, all of them. And ideas, love, happiness, courage, bravery, sadness, they are all, yes, nouns, because they're all naming something or the other. You get that, right? So anything, any word that tells you the name of a person, place, thing, or idea is called a noun. Now let's get to the types of noun. How many types of noun are there? There are 8 major types of nouns. So there are common nouns, proper nouns, abstract nouns, concrete nouns, collective nouns, countable nouns, uncountable nouns, and compound nouns. So these are the 8 major types of nouns, and we are going to learn about all of them in the slides to come. All right. So the very first one, common nouns. What are common nouns? If you go by the definition, a common noun is a type of noun that refers to a general, non-specific person, place, thing, or idea. In simpler terms, it can be anyone. It's not pointing fingers at someone, specifying that this is the person, this is the idea, this is the place we are talking about. They're just talking about something in general, but they are naming it. So it is a broad term, right? It's not a specific term. It's a broad term that is used to describe everyday ordinary objects or concepts, rather than specific individuals or unique entities, unique identities. So it does not specify, it does not point fingers. It talks about anything and everything. It just goes on to name anything and everything that can be categorized under a general category, right? So common nouns are typically not capitalized. You see, it's coming within the sentence, right? So they are not typically capitalized unless they begin a sentence. Of course, that every sentence begins with a capital word, a capital letter. So unless you are not starting your sentence with a common noun, you do not have to capitalize it, right? Now let's get to some examples of common noun. So any person, place, thing, or idea is a noun, right? Any common person, common place, common thing, or common idea is a common noun. Like teacher, there can be any teacher. You're not pointing everyone from me who is teaching you to somebody like Mahatma Gandhi who taught some people the value of life, such great values. They're all teachers. A very common noun. Student, from you who is learning from me to me who has learned from so many others in the past. We are all students, and will continue to be. So student is a common noun. A doctor, can be anyone, right? It can be a male doctor, it can be a female doctor, it can be a tooth doctor, it can be a surgical, it can be a surgeon, it can be an ortho. So there are a lot of various categories. We'll go into that later, but anyone. So when you say doctor, you do not entirely know which doctor they are talking about, right? So a doctor is a, again, common noun. Similarly, a city, park, or school. If I say a city, it can be any city. If I name Delhi, that is different, right? So if I just say a city, that is a any city can be there. So it's a common noun. Similarly, park, any park in the world comes under this. School, every school in the world comes under this category. Table, chair, book, all these things. any table, every table, they all come under this category. So these are all common nouns. But when you talk about ideas, see, happiness is a common noun. It's not so common, I do realize that, but it should be. Stay happy, be happy, try and be as happy as possible. But again, coming back to it, happiness, freedom, knowledge, they are broad terms, right? So you cannot pinpoint a finger. There is not a certain amount of happiness, there's not a certain type of happiness that we are talking about, and there's not a certain type of freedom that we are talking about when we say freedom. So these are all general ideas, and that's why they all are categorized under common nouns. So common nouns are used to refer to general categories or groups, and they can be modified by using articles, right? You know what articles are, right? A and the. So when you use the articles a and the, so then you can go on and further specify or describe the noun that we are talking about. Until unless that is not done, it is just a common noun. It's, anyone can be that. Like it's a cat, common noun man, common noun furniture, common noun boy, common noun, right? So common nouns are essential for everyday day-to-day communication, and they are the building blocks of language. Because if you are not using common nouns in general, if you try and not use common nouns while you are talking to someone, you will realize very soon that you cannot talk to anyone at all. So it's a very important, common nouns are very important, and day-to-day usage is basically the building blocks of this language, right? The English language that we are learning right now. So this is a common noun, a type of noun that refers to a general, non-specific person, place, thing, or an idea. Next, what do we have up next? We have proper nouns. So proper nouns are like the anti-common nouns. Proper nouns are the type of noun that refers to specific individuals or places, organizations, or things, right? They are used to identify a particular entity and are capitalized. You see, common nouns, they used to refer to a general term. Proper nouns go on and point towards a particular person, like this is the person you are talking about. You see, here this is Santa Claus and this is Rudolph. You guys know it's named Rudolph, the reindeer of Santa, and they are both proper nouns. Like we know this reindeer, it's not just a reindeer. A reindeer is a common noun, but this reindeer's name, it's Rudolph, so it is proper noun. Similarly, it's not just any old man. An old man, a man, is a common noun, but this guy, we know his name, he's Santa, so he is a proper noun. Some other examples, the people and names of all people, John, Emily, Michael, Elizabeth, they are all proper nouns. Places, Paris, London, New York City, Mount Everest, all of them, again, proper nouns. Organizations, Coca-Cola, Google, United Nations, NASA. Historical events, for that matter, World War II, Renaissance, French Revolution, or works of art, Mona Lisa, Starry Night, Hamlet. Can you name all three? Like, do you know who are the artists behind this? So the Mona Lisa obviously is Da Vinci. Starry Night is a very famous painting by Van Gogh, and Hamlet is considered the magnum opus of William Shakespeare. Yeah, do read it sometime, it's a pretty good read. Anyway, so these are all proper nouns. So Hamlet is a book, it's a painting, again this is a painting, but they are all proper nouns because we have a name for them. We have a distinct name that is only their name, right? So proper nouns play a very important role in communication by providing specific information about someone, right? Whatever nouns they represent, they are representing them in their individuality. Like we know, for in the example we have here, right here, we definitely know that this reindeer, it's called Rudolph. So when I say Rudolph the reindeer, you will immediately say the one who goes with Santa. Again, Santa. When I say a man, you don't know, but Santa you definitely know, right? So we can fixate upon him. That is what that's the most important role that proper nouns play, right? And they help us refer to specific people, places, things, or events, right? And in order doing so, they serve as crucial markers for identification and clarity in language. Yeah, so these are very, very important part of the language. Again, not exactly building blocks, but the the kind of glue that keeps these blocks connected, that's got to be proper nouns. Next, abstract nouns. So you know what abstract is, right? So abstract nouns are a type of noun that refer to ideas, concepts, qualities, or states that cannot be perceived through the senses. The senses is very important here. You know what the senses are, right? There are 5 senses: touch, hear, smell, taste, and See, sight. Sorry. So yeah, these are the five senses, and any noun that you cannot experience through these five senses are all abstract nouns. So basically, they are intangible things that do exist in the realm of thoughts, emotions, or experiences. Like you can think about them, you can emote about them, you can feel that emotion, or you can experience it, but you cannot touch it, you cannot hear it, you cannot see it, you cannot taste it, and obviously you cannot, what's the fifth one, I keep forgetting, you cannot see it, right? So the abstract nouns allow us to discuss and express concepts that are not physical or concrete. So again, very important, the whole, if I have to go on and say, the whole subject of philosophy is based upon abstract nouns, right? It's literally a subject that's based just around abstract nouns, right? Some examples, if you want some examples, see love. Can you see love? Can you hear honesty? Can you touch freedom? Can you taste bravery? Can you can you see courage? Can you hear happiness? Yeah, a child's laugh, yes, I know, but can you actually hear it? Can you see knowledge? None of these. Justice, beauty, patience, friendship, they are all nouns, and yet you cannot perceive them through any of your senses. So these are all abstract nouns. So abstract nouns are often derived from adjectives, verbs, or other abstract nouns by adding suffixes like ness, ity, shun, meant, or is. If you can see right here, I have mentioned it. So when you add stuff to it, like see, friendship is right here, right? And then we have happiness, justice, right? Honesty, bravery, freedom, right? So it's very common, it is very common that when you add these suffixes to other adjectives or verbs or similar other abstract nouns, you can get new abstract nouns. So they represents qualities, feelings, or ideas that may vary from person to person, and they are very subjective in nature, right? So abstract nouns cannot be perceived directly through the senses. We use them to describe and discuss aspects of human experience, emotions, concepts, and ideals, right? So they are very essential for expressing deeper thoughts, values, and philosophical ideas. Like I said, the very grassroots system of philosophy is based around the fact that abstract nouns exist. If not for the existence of abstract nouns, the study of philosophy, the study of human nature, none of it would have been ever possible, right? So all the philosophers owe it to abstract nouns, or vice versa, but yeah. So see, abstract nouns are basically types of noun that refer to ideas, concepts, and qualities or states that can be perceived through the senses. That cannot be perceived through the senses. You cannot touch them, you cannot hear them, you cannot see them, you cannot taste them, right? And you can definitely not and you can definitely not smell them, right? So yeah, these are abstract nouns. Coming up next, we have concrete nouns. Concrete nouns are technically the opposite of abstract nouns, right? So concrete nouns are a type of noun that refer to a physical, tangible objects that can be perceived through the senses, right? So they are basically things that we can see, hear, touch, taste, or smell, right? Concrete nouns are the direct opposite of abstract nouns, which refer to intangible concept that we just discussed. So anything that you can see, anything that has a name, anything that you can name and that you can see, hear, touch, taste, or smell, it's a concrete noun. For example, dog, table, car, tree, beach, book, apple, ball, chair, water. It's important to keep the idea, you know do not smell water, do not taste a dog, do not hear a table. So again, different, but yeah, if any of the five is possible, then it's a concrete noun, right? If you look over here, see, you can taste a steak, it's a concrete noun. You can smell a flower, it's a concrete noun. You can hear a whistle, again concrete noun. You can touch the skin, concrete noun. You can see a dog, concrete noun. So the five senses, the idea of concrete nouns revolves around the five senses, and anything that can be perceived by these senses is a concrete noun. So concrete nouns represent the physical world around us and can be experienced directly through our senses. So these are the ideal, these are the ideation of the physical world around us. These are typically specific and very easily identifiable objects or entities. So concrete nouns, what the role that it plays in our everyday communication is that, it gives a name to anything that you can see here. So whenever you are talking to someone, telling them about something else, it's the most vital part. Like if I'm giving this pen to someone, I need to see, this is a pen, I'm giving it to you, so they can be able to see it, they can be able to touch it as well. So this pen is a concrete noun. Moving on, now we go on to collective nouns. So what are collective nouns? Collective nouns are a type of noun that refers to a group or collection of people, animals or things as a single entity. When you are clubbing together a group of more than one people, or more than one animals, or more than one thing, and when you're talking about them in a singular term, when you're treating them as, instead of treating each member of the group individually, collective nouns represent them as a unified whole. Okay. So this is the idea. Collective nouns are basically collections of singular nouns that come together and again become a singular. Like a herd. A herd is of cows, a pack of wolves, a team of hares, a swarm of bees, a fleet of ships, a committee of members. Or you can look over here, a pride of lions. A collection of lions is called a pride. A puppies. When puppies come together, they are known as a litter. School. The fish. The collective noun of fish is school. So it's a school of fish, a litter of puppies, a pride of lions. So these are all collective nouns. It is important to note that collective nouns can vary in the usage and can sometimes take either singular or plural verbs depending on the context, right? So usually it's singular, but it can vary from time to time depending on how you are using it. For example, if the team is practicing, if you're treating the team as a single unit, the team is practicing. But if two members of the team, they are arguing, then they say the team are arguing, and we are referring to the team members as different individuals, separate individuals, and in that case it's it's treated as a plural, not a singular, right? So this is how collective nouns go about. They are basically a type of noun that refers to a group of or collection of peoples, animals or things, and you just try to talk about them singularly. You turn them into a singular entity, right? Moving on, countable nouns. Very simple. Countable nouns are a type of noun that can be counted as separate individual units. They have both singular and plural forms, and we can use numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 and quantifiers a, and, many, few, etc. to denote them, right? So here is some example. When you say book, it can be a single book. When you say books, it can be many books. So that is both. It can be used both ways. Similarly, mouse, mice, chair, chairs, car, cars, child, children. You see, it is a child. Here you can see 3 children. This is a berry. You can see 3 berries. This is a foot. The game is a foot. And here they are 2 feet. Similarly, this is 1 man, 2 men, 1 leaf. How many are here? 6 leaves, 1 pencil, 2 pencils, right? So they are all quantifiable. We have just denoted names to all of them, denoted numbers or quantity to all of them. So these are countable nouns. Now it is very important to note that some countable nouns may have irregular plural forms or follow specific rules for pluralization. For example, man becomes men, child becomes children, woman becomes women. So mouse became mice over here, as you can see. So we'll be discussing them in the assignments as well. But yeah, it is very important to know that countable nouns, when they turn to plural form, they change their forms, right? Next, moving on. So after countable nouns, what do you think we should study? Yes, uncountable nouns. So uncountable nouns are also known as mass nouns or non-count nouns, are a type of noun that cannot be counted as separate individual units. They are typically substances, concepts or qualities that are considered as a whole or mass. So they are basically things that we cannot count. As simple as that. Anything that you cannot count, either on your fingers or in numbers, it might be a very large number for that matter. Anything that is not countable is an uncountable noun, right? Water, can you count water? Nope. You can count how many liters of water there is, but you cannot count the water in there. No, water is an uncountable noun. Knowledge, someone is very knowledgeable, someone is very less knowledgeable, but there is no idea, you cannot quantify it. So any noun that you cannot quantify is known as an uncountable noun. Happiness, have you ever have you ever seen someone being 2.5 kg of happy? No, it doesn't happen that way, right? Sand, sugar, music, advice, furniture, milk, air, all of these you can see, you can feel, you can think. So these are all nouns, right? But you cannot measure them. So that is an uncountable noun. So uncountable nouns do not have a plural form. Also, they are not cannot be preceded by numbers or quantifiers like a and. Doesn't happen. You don't see one air. You don't say a milk. You don't say a advice. It's always a piece of advice, right? Or you cannot say three music. It's some music. So in order to refer to them a specific amount of a portion, you can use expressions like we have used here. All right. And also it is very important to note that some nouns can be both countable and uncountable. For example, paper. Like when I'm talking about one single sheet of paper, I can say, I have a paper, I'm writing on paper, I'm writing on a single sheet of paper. But at the same time, if I say newspapers are printed on paper, I'm talking about all the paper in the world, that is in general, and it is an uncountable noun. You cannot talk about them. So when I'm talking about I'm writing on a sheet of paper, it is singular, so that is a countable noun. But when I'm talking about all the paper in the world, it is uncountable. It's not papers, it's still paper, and it is uncountable noun. So some nouns can be both countable and uncountable. Now moving on to the last part of our types of noun, we go to compound nouns. So compound nouns are basically nouns that are formed by combining two or more words together to create a new word with a distinct meaning, right? So these this new word might have semblance, might have something to do with the previous words or not, but it does create a new word, a new noun in itself. So these words can either be connected with hyphens. You know what a hyphen is, right? So you write so this is the hyphen, and it can be combined into a single word, or it can be written as separate words, but they are all compound nouns. Like water plus melon, it's watermelon. Mother plus in-law, it's mother-in-law. So water is a noun, melon is a noun, watermelon is a third noun, mother is a noun, in-law is noun, mother-in-law is the third noun. Book, shelf, bookshelf. Butterfly, butterfly. Fire, fire, firefighter. Right? These are all compound nouns. Butterfly, watermelon, pineapple, sunflower, pancake, right? All of them are compound nouns, and understanding compound nouns is very important for vocabulary development and clear communication, right? So if you know how you can club two words to two words to come together and form a third word that has a distinct meaning, it's a very great thing to have in conversation. It will help you develop your vocabulary and be a better speaker. So they also allow you to express complex ideas and describe things more precisely by combining words to create new meanings. So that is how compound nouns come into being. And yeah, so basically compound nouns are nouns that are formed by combining two or more words together to create a new word with a distinct meaning. So that is compound nouns. We'll talk about them more in the assignments to come, right? But moving on, we go to number of nouns. So basically nouns have numbers, only two: a singular number noun and a plural number noun. A noun that represents one person or thing is known as singular number noun. It is a very tall plant. So the plant, I know there is only one plant. It's a singular number. He loves writing with a black pen. I know there is one black pen. So again, it is a singular number noun. And then the other is plural number. A noun that represents more than one person or thing is known as a plural number. For example, the boys have planned a night out. So it's got to have at least two boys, which is more than one, right? So it is a plural. I like to write poems, but I have to write at least more than one. So again, this is a plural number noun. Moving on. The second part that we are going to talk about is in these types of noun is gender of nouns. So all nouns have a specific gender, and I'll tell you how. Or it has four different genders. We'll talk about all of them. The first is the masculine gender. Very simple. A noun that represents a male is known as a masculine gender. Boy, man, lion, king, they're all masculine genders. But on the other hand, feminine gender, a noun that represents a female, is known as a feminine gender. Boy, girl, man, woman, lion, lioness, king, queen, right? So if you can see right over here, we have a prince. It is a masculine gender. We also have a princess, and she is a feminine gender, right? Even here you see this boy, if we can tell, so this boy is a masculine gender and the girl is feminine gender, right? So these are the two major genders. These are the first two genders of noun. And moving on, you see there is the third gender, that's called a common gender. So common gender is something, a noun that is either a male or a female. It can either be a male or it can be a female, right? You do not know, or even if you know, it's used to denote both of them commonly. So it's called the common gender. For example, friend, it can be a male or a female. Guest can be male or female. Passenger can be male or female. Player can be male or female. You know, the best example. See, this is mother, right? And it is a female gender. This is father, and again this is a masculine gender, feminine, masculine. But when we are talking about the context here, when we are talking about in context to the child, they are both parents, right? So parent is a common gender, right? Similarly, all of these, you know, doctor, friend, guest, player, so they are all common genders. Then there is a fourth category, that is the neuter gender, a noun that represents something that is neither a male nor a female. Basically, non-living things. All non-living things fall in this category, and living things that you cannot identify directly, that you know just by looking at them, they are all neuter gender. So a tree, a bird, a bicycle, a plant, a lamp, a book, a table fan, a crocodile. You cannot tell whether a crocodile is male or female just by looking at them, right? So these are all neuter genders, right? Great. Moving on. Now there are some very few important uses slash rules of noun that you have to remember. There are no now some rules when it comes to using nouns that you must always remember, so that you do not commit mistakes while you are writing your exams. So some nouns will always remain in plural, like you every time that you use them it will always be plural, it will never be single, like assets, arms. You know what arms is, right? Ashes, scissors, goggles, wages, they'll always be in plural form, whether you are using it for one person or 100 million, does not matter, right? They'll always remain in plural form. Similarly, some nouns might look plural but are singular, like news, innings, politics, mathematics, economics. They all have s in the end, right? So they all might look like we are talking about a plural. They might look plural but they are all singular, right? Rule number 3, uncountable nouns are always singular. Scenery, poetry, bread, money, hair. Every time they are used, they'll always be singular. You do not use a and the with them because they are uncountable. We have talked about it earlier, but they'll always be used in singular form. You cut your hair, you do not cut your hairs, right? You earn money, you do not earn monies. I love poetry, I do not love poetries. So this is the idea. Uncountable nouns are always singular. Rule 4. When common gender nouns are in singular form, we'll learn about it later, but yeah, it's very important to remember, when common gender nouns are in singular form, use third person singular masculine pronoun always, right? So it is his. Third person singular masculine, that is his. So a teacher should not beat his students. Now teacher is a common gender noun, right? It can be a male or a female. So if we know that it is a female teacher, we'll use her. But if we do not know it, if the common gender is used, so it always use the singular masculine pronoun. So his will be used. A parent should not cater to every demand of his child, right? Similarly, always use his. Also, another rule is that if the same noun is repeated after preposition, if there is a preposition in between, like town after town we have written here, if we use door to door, right? So this is a noun, this is a noun, and this is a preposition, right? So in case that there is a same noun is repeated after preposition, the noun will be in singular form and will be followed by a singular verb, right? So okay, what's wrong with my pen? Town after town was drowned in the flood. Town after town, we're using was, singular, right? Drowned in the flood. So this is how these are some very important rules of noun that you have to remember, and I'm hoping it's a very clear, very easy. Nouns is not a very different, not a very difficult chapter to understand, but again, very basic, very important that we get this covered. So once you're done with this, let's move on to our worksheet and assignments. Let's do some practices based on this, right? I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thank you.